On my birthday, Corin Duan posted a photo with his female secretary, both of them wearing matching couple rings. Underneath he wrote, "Work partners are also life partners." I commented, "A perfect match." Corin called me immediately, furious, accusing me of being out of my mind and saying I clearly couldn't take a joke. Before hanging up, I heard him comforting the sobbing secretary in a soft, tender voice. In the past, I would have rushed over in a hysterical fit, making a scene for everyone to laugh at. But this time I felt calm, completely unbothered. When Corin returned home, I was making breakfast. Yesterday had been my birthday. He'd promised to come back and celebrate with me, so I left work early and prepared an entire table of dishes. But even by midnight he never showed up. If it weren't for that photo, I would have kept waiting foolishly. When I brought the sandwich to the table, he asked, "Where's mine?" I was taken aback. "Didn't you eat? I thought Christine would have made you breakfast, so I didn't prepare your portion." He glanced at my plate and sneered, "This trash isn't worth eating anyway." In the past, hearing that would have crushed me. I would have argued, defended myself, tried to fix things. But now I simply nodded. "Yeah, you don't like it anyway." He stiffened, then tossed a paper bag at me. "I bought you a lipstick." Every time we fought, he'd buy me a little something as a peace offering, knowing I couldn't stay mad at him for long, that I'd eagerly take the chance to reconcile. I didn't look up. "Thanks," I said dismissively. Not getting the reaction he wanted, he snorted and walked toward the bathroom, complaining, "What are you wearing? You're too old for pink. Do you think you're Chris's age?" My hand paused. Did he forget that Christine and I were born in the same year? While I was clearing the table, Corin's phone, left on the table, received a message from cute Chris. Corin, thank you for being with me yesterday. I feel much better. I glanced at it, then looked away, but was suddenly yanked backward, slammed into the wall with a stifled groan. A furious shout followed. "Hannah, who the hell gave you permission to look at my phone?" I paled, clutching my shoulder. It felt dislocated. After replying to the message, Corin noticed my face drenched in cold sweat and frowned. "It was just a light bump. No need to overreact." Before I could speak, he added impatiently, Fine, I'm sorry. I'll drive you to work later, okay?" With my injury, I naturally didn't refuse. As soon as I got in the car, I noticed the little cat charm hanging from the rearview mirror. Corin looked uncomfortable. Chris liked it. She insisted on hanging it. I responded blandly, "Oh, it's nice." But his expression turned odd. "Your Lucky Charm was too tacky, so I took it down." I stared at him blankly. He could change it if he wanted. Why explain it to me? Suddenly, I remembered that the Lucky Charm was something I'd gotten after walking 2 hours up a mountain. Despite his disdain, I'd hung it in the car. If it were the old me, I probably would have immediately thrown out Christine's stuff. But now I didn't care about Corin anymore. So what was the point of competing with her? "Let's go," I said. "We're going to be late." Corin finally started the car. As we took the high bridge, I realized the route was wrong. "This is the road to Starlight Tower." He clicked his tongue. "Can you not nag while I'm driving?" I calmly said, "My current office is at the Sanayo building." He grew irritated. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" I had told him, but he didn't remember. After exiting the ramp, his phone suddenly rang. A ringtone Christine liked, Pikachu. She said her cat was sick and needed to see a vet. Corin pulled over and told me to get out. "Since we're already on the wrong route, you can find your own way to work." With that, he sped off. During the morning rush, I couldn't get a cab and stood in the cold for over an hour, freezing to the bone. I ended up taking the day off and going to the orthopedic hospital. That evening, Corin came home, checked the kitchen and asked, "Where's the late-night snack?" Before coming home, he'd sent me a message. After all these years together, whenever he came home late, I'd always prepare a late-night snack for him, without needing to be reminded. I replied dismissively, "I didn't check my phone." Corin paused for a moment, then handed me a box. Didn't you say you wanted to buy a necklace last time? Here. I looked away from the TV screen and saw the familiar design. I politely said, "Thank you, but I've lost interest in wearing necklaces lately." Earlier that day, Christine had just posted a photo wearing this exact necklace, complaining that the design was too old-fashioned for her taste. Corin leaned in, trying to put the necklace around my neck. "Try it on anyway." As his hand approached, it felt like it still carried the warmth from Christine's neck. Reflexively, I reached out to block him, and the delicate necklace snapped in an instant. Corin frowned. "Are you still angry about having to go to work by yourself?" "I'm not angry," he sneered. "Don't pretend you're not angry, Hannah. I know you too well. You've always been petty, unlike Chris, who's so magnanimous. I grew up reading people's expressions, sensitive by nature. Every time we argued, Corin would mock me for being petty. When I broke down crying, hysterical, he'd calmly watch from the sidelines, amused. But this time he was going to be disappointed. I simply turned my gaze away, indifferent. "You're right." After watching TV for a while longer, I got up to gather my things and head out. Corin taunted. "What, running away from home again?" I calmly looked back at him. "I'm going to work overtime." His expression froze awkwardly as if he had more to say, but I'd already opened the door. I spent the night playing a murder mystery game with my best friend Betty. Corin called, but I didn't pick up. Betty was shocked. "You're not answering your husband's call." Everyone knew I loved Corin with all my heart. I would always answer his calls and texts immediately. But tonight I didn't feel like it at all. Instead, I dragged Betty to a bar. When I got home, the sun was just starting to rise. I went straight to the guest room to wash up. I'd just fallen asleep when a loud bang woke me up. "You still know how to come back," Corin said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Ignoring him, I turned over and continued to sleep. In the past, I would have catered to him if he wanted to talk, stayed away when he was annoyed. I was always the one wagging my tail, begging for attention. Now that I didn't respond, Corin stood there for a moment, then suddenly slammed the door hard and stormed out. Without anyone bothering me, I slept soundly. When I woke up, I found the house empty, and I felt extremely at ease. I leisurely made lunch for one, enjoyed it, and then went to meet the divorce lawyer that Betty had recommended. As soon as I arrived at the law firm, I saw a video posted by Corin's good friend Pablo. It was from his birthday party. In the middle of the video, Corin appeared, with Christine sitting on his lap. Before the video could finish playing, it was deleted. Corin immediately called. "Honey, don't get the wrong idea. Chris just lost her balance, and I helped her out." I replied, confused. "I didn't get the wrong idea." "Then don't be mad. On Pablo's birthday you were working, so I was even more puzzled. Why would I be mad?" Corin was momentarily speechless. After a long silence, he finally said, "I'll pick you up tonight, and we'll go out for dinner." I was about to refuse when I heard the dial tone. He'd already hung up. Corin came to pick me up, and we went directly to a Japanese restaurant. As soon as we walked in, the lobby manager bypassed me and respectfully addressed Corin behind me. "Mr. Duan, you're here. Mrs. Duan is already waiting in the Sakura room." Corin's face changed instantly. Just as he was about to say something, Christine walked out, her eyes lighting up as she saw him. She ran over, affectionate. "Corin, darling," then as if just noticing me. "Oh, Sister Hanny, you're here too. You haven't been to this place before, right? Corin, darling, loves their sea urchin salad." The lobby manager, sensing the tension, discreetly left. I smiled faintly. What a coincidence. Corin's expression changed slightly as he walked over to grab my hand, but I turned away. "Let's go. I'm hungry." Throughout the meal, Corin was distracted, frequently glancing at me, offering dishes, making introductions. I occasionally responded with a few perfunctory words, but eventually I sighed. Just focus on eating. Midway through the meal, the restaurant owner came over to chat, and I realized this place was owned by Marco, one of Corin's friends. Marco apologized to me, saying the waiter was inexperienced and had mistaken someone. I knew this was his way of explaining for Corin. His friends were very loyal, always covering for him. I smiled slightly. It's not a big deal. I appreciate you coming all the way here. Seeing that I didn't make a scene, Marco seemed a bit surprised. After a few more casual words, he left. After finishing the meal, I went to the restroom. When I returned, I saw Corin holding a drunk Christine with a look of affection. Last year I also got drunk at a work event. My colleague called Corin using my phone, but he refused to come and get me. After my colleague dropped me off at home, I kept entering the wrong passcode. In the early winter season, I ended up sleeping in the hallway all night. It wasn't until the next morning that I found out Corin had been home all along. I didn't want to let you in, he said. I wanted you to learn a lesson. What kind of behavior is it for a woman to drink outside? Thinking of this, I went back to the private room, grabbed my bag and left. As soon as I got home, Corin's call came through. Hannah, are you crazy? You left without saying a word. Do you know how long I waited for you? I calmly replied. Corin, let's get a divorce. This was the second time I'd suggested divorce. The first time was on our wedding anniversary last year. Corin had taken Christine to the aquarium. We had a huge argument, and he pushed me so hard that I miscarried. I thought I could use divorce to threaten him. But to my surprise, he readily agreed. So I cried my heart out, begging him to forgive my rash words. But this time I truly wanted out. Corin froze. After a moment, he suddenly let out a cold laugh. You're pulling this trick again. Fine. I'll be right back. Let's see what other stunts you can pull. Half an hour later he finally arrived home. I handed him the divorce papers I'd prepared. But Corin recoiled sharply, letting the papers fall to the floor. You're really going all out with this act. He gave me a long, deep look. This game is getting old. This time it's real. But he sneered disdainfully. Hannah, I know you too well. If you're gonna play hard to get, at least use your brain. Do you even have one? With that, he turned and walked away. For the next few days he didn't come home, and I was perfectly content with that. Then one day Marco called, frantic, saying Corin had been in a car accident and I needed to go to the hospital. I calmly said, I'm at work. I can't go. He really needs someone to take care of him, asked Christine. After all, he doesn't want to see me anyway. He'd probably be happier with her there. But when I got off work, I found the person who was supposed to be in the hospital sitting at home, completely unharmed, though his expression was sour. When he saw me come in, he washed some fruit and brought it over to me. Every day after that, with a sour face, he made me breakfast and drove me to and from work. I couldn't stand it anymore. If you really don't enjoy eating with me, don't force yourself. You're ruining my appetite too. He froze for a moment, his face darkening even more, and said stiffly, I'm not forcing myself. Then he lowered his head to refresh his social media, probably waiting for me to post something about how he's being nice to me like I used to. But I didn't post anything. I didn't even acknowledge it. In fact, I blocked him. The divorce papers sat on the coffee table, untouched but visible, and Corin acted like they didn't exist. I didn't push him. My lawyer said patience is key at this stage. Let the silence do the work. On the weekend, I went with Betty to welcome a friend back to town. As soon as I stepped onto the floor of the address she had sent, a surprised voice called out, Wife, are you here to see me? My appearance made Corin overjoyed. He smiled and put his arm around me. Everyone's here. Let's say hello and then head home. Before I could refuse, he had already taken me to the private room. The door opened, and the voices inside became audible. Pablo and Marco were both addressing Christine, calling her little sister-in-law. The last time I heard that title was last year, when Pablo asked Corin to take the little sister-in-law to his winery. On the way back I had joked with him, being called little sister-in-law makes me feel so much younger. Corin, however, snapped at me irritably. How annoying! How old are you? Do you have any sense? Stop pretending to be young. You're crazy. As it turned out, they weren't even talking about me. Corin looked at me nervously. They're just joking around with the title, that's all. I was replying to a message and casually said, "It's just a title. They can call whoever whatever they like." Seeing him holding me as we walked in, the expressions of the others varied. Pablo quickly stood up. "Sister-in-law, I forgot to invite you to my birthday party last time. You told me to take care of that." I smiled and responded with a few polite words before Corin pulled me down to sit. Christine, who had initially shown displeasure, now giggled sweetly. "Honey, Corin said you don't like these kinds of gatherings." I almost believed it, thinking you just didn't want to come. In the past, I wanted very much to integrate into Corin's life. But he rarely took me to gatherings with his friends, saying I wasn't familiar with them and that everyone would feel awkward with me around. But now, with the smoky and tense atmosphere in this private room, I really didn't want to be here. The others started egging us on to drink a traditional toasting drink together, and Christine eagerly handed me a glass. As she passed it to me, I noticed the watch and ring she was wearing. The designs were all too familiar, because Corin had them too. Betty sent me a message. "I'm here," my eyes lit up. I stood up, pulled Christine's hand amidst the surprised stares, sat her down beside Corin, ignored his panicked look, handed them both a glass of wine, and intertwined their hands. With a smile full of satisfaction, like an elder witnessing a wedding, I said, "You two drink the toasting wine and be together forever, living a good life." Seeing that they didn't move, I quickly explained, "Don't worry, I won't break you up. I also wish for lovers to end up together." The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the three of us in shock. I urged them, "Come on, drink." With that, I walked out of the private room with light steps. "Honey! Honey!" Corin chased after me, his expression frantic, his lips trembling. "Christine and I aren't what you think." I looked at him, puzzled. "What do you mean?" He stammered, struggling to explain. "There's nothing between us. Really, you have to believe me." He lifted his hand, took off the watch, and threw it to the ground. Then he pulled off the ring. His fingers rubbed raw. "These were just for fun. They don't mean anything. Look," I threw them away. He clung desperately to my arm, just as I had when I saw him accompanying Christine to the gynecologist. Back then, I had clung to him tightly, thinking I could hold on to his heart that way. But he had frowned in disgust, pushed me away, and snapped, "Can you behave yourself in public?" Now the roles were reversed, and he was the one begging in despair. I coldly pried his hand off. "Behave yourself in public, Mr. Duan." He stared at me in disbelief as I walked further away, but he didn't dare to follow. During the welcome dinner, Corin kept texting me, but I didn't look at a single message. Eventually he called, but I put my phone on silent and tucked it into my bag. Betty asked, "Is this okay?" I smiled calmly. "He doesn't matter. Let's not let him ruin our good mood." As I walked out of the private room, a figure leaning against the wall at the door brightened up. "Honey, I'll take you home." I shook my head and kept walking. "No need. I have another event with my friends." Corin followed closely, his tone pleading. "Then send me the address. I'll come pick you up." I said nothing and walked out. On the way, I finally checked the messages he had sent earlier. There were more than a dozen. First asking when I'd be done so we could go home together. Then he asked if I had brought any hangover medicine, and said he went out to buy some yogurt, asking if he could bring it to me. Finally, he said he was waiting at the door and that I'd see him when I came out. When we left the restaurant, Betty said goodbye, and Maxwell and I headed back to the orphanage. That night, Maxwell and I stayed at the orphanage. Corin went crazy, sending me dozens of messages and making over 10 calls. I finally answered when I woke up. He sounded anxious yet cautious. "Honey, are you still not done?" At that moment there was a knock on the door, and Maxwell called me out for breakfast. Corin was silent for a moment, then spoke again. His voice strained. "Is it that man from yesterday?" I suddenly remembered that he had never met Maxwell. Yes. His voice trembled and his breathing grew rapid. Where are you? I'll come pick you up, I replied coldly, fabricating a lie. At Betty's house. Corin hesitated briefly before speaking with difficulty. I'm right outside Betty's house. She just left. I clicked my tongue in annoyance. Are you out of your mind? Do I need to report my whereabouts to you? He quickly explained, his tone still gentle. I worry about you, Hanny. Just tell me where you are and I'll come get you. The orphanage. He hesitated and asked where the orphanage was. My patience ran out and I hung up. Somehow he managed to find me. Just as I stepped out of the orphanage, Corin was already waiting at the entrance. His eyes warily watching Maxwell. Maxwell shrugged indifferently and walked toward his car. Corin eagerly opened the passenger door for me, but I glanced at it and chose to sit in the back. On the dashboard in front of the passenger seat was a black lace camisole. Corin's pupils contracted. He hastily threw it out of the car, stammering, Chris borrowed my car to change clothes. We didn't do anything, Hanny. I closed my eyes and interrupted him. Stop talking. Hanny, I opened my eyes and said calmly, I genuinely feel a bit sick. His face turned pale instantly. I added with satisfaction, I ate too much and my stomach's upset. Let's go. He stood there, processing my words, unsure if I was being serious or not, before hesitantly getting into the car and starting the engine. When we got home, I went to the study to work overtime. When I came out, Corin had already prepared 2 dishes and a soup. Corin's cooking skills are better than mine. In the past, what I looked forward to most was him cooking a meal for me on my birthday, but that never happened. Whenever I brought it up, he would impatiently say, You're an orphan, not some spoiled princess. Why do you need someone to cater to you? So pretentious. If you want to eat, cook for yourself. It's not like you can't take care of yourself. But Christine often posted pictures of the bento boxes he made with love. Once he left a bento box on the table, and I thought it was for me, so I took it. That night when we got home, he grabbed a handful of the uneaten bento and shoved it into my mouth. You really want to eat my cooking? Eat it. You look like a beggar. Eat. Why don't you just choke on it? Before he got home, I saw Christine's post on social media. Someone made me a bento with love, but it was stolen. So sad. Only then did I realize the bento was for Christine. Because of me, Christine was sad. And now he was punishing me for making her upset. That time I was left with food smeared all over my face and hair. I cried as I washed it off. When I came out this time, Corin looked at me expectantly. Hanny, I made your favorite sweet and sour ribs and seafood soup. I walked to the table, and he eagerly handed me the chopsticks. I picked up a piece of rib and threw it on the floor, scoffing. Trying to feed a beggar? Eat it yourself. He stared at me in shock, as if he couldn't understand what I was doing. Then I took the pot of soup and poured it over his head. What is this? It smells awful. The scalding soup turned his face red, but he said nothing. After doing all that, my food delivery arrived. I took it back to the study to eat, ignoring Corin as he cleaned up the mess. Before long, he came over and knocked on the door. Hanny, He was interrupted by the sound of Pikachu's ringtone. Christine was crying on the other end, saying something. After hanging up, Corin explained through the door. Hanny, please wait for me at home. Christine is being troubled by a client, and it's related to company business. I need to go resolve it. I'll clean up the mess on the floor when I get back, and I'll bring you your favorite cheesecake. I responded perfunctorily, put on my headphones, and listened to Betty talking on the other side. Waiting for a long time without receiving any other response from me, Corin finally hurriedly left, slamming the door behind him. After confirming the travel itinerary with Betty, I grabbed the luggage I had already packed and headed straight to the airport, sending Corin a message on the way. The divorce agreement is on the coffee table. Please sign it as soon as possible. Asterisk. After nearly 10 hours of flight, I landed and received a few text messages. One from a colleague. Asterisk, your husband came to the office looking for you. Didn't you tell him you took leave? Asterisk, another from Maxwell. Asterisk, Corin came to find me but I wasn't home. He probably misunderstood something. Asterisk. Just as I finished reading the messages, the orphanage called to inform me that Corin had searched the entire place yesterday, trying to find me. Checking the call log, Corin had made over 20 calls. I didn't call back. Instead, I switched to a local SIM card and enjoyed a month of carefree fun. Here I was just myself, with friends by my side and beautiful scenery all around. I didn't have to worry about a man not coming home at night. I didn't have to be heartbroken over his cold words. I didn't have to lose myself just to please him. A month passed like a slow, quiet breath, long enough for the weight on my chest to finally lift. I traveled through coastal towns, sat in cafes with no agenda, laughed with Betty over nothing at all. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone to notice me, to choose me to come home. I was just living. Then, one rainy afternoon in a little seaside bookstore, my phone buzzed. Not my usual number, the local one I'd been using, but my old number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. It was Marco. Hannah, he said, voice uncharacteristically flat. Corin's in the hospital. I didn't react at first. Just turned the page of the book in my hand. A novel about a woman who disappears and reinvents herself in another country. He was in a motorcycle accident, Marco continued. Nothing life-threatening, but he's been asking for you. Insisting, actually. The nurses said he wouldn't let them call anyone else. I stayed silent. He keeps saying he needs to tell you something important. That he's finally ready to be honest. A quiet laugh slipped out of me. Soft, disbelieving. Marco, I said. How many times has he played that card? How many times has he turned up broken, expecting me to fix him? This time feels different, he said. I don't know why. Maybe because he's not crying. Not demanding. Just waiting. I closed the book and walked to the window. Rain streaked the glass, blurring the world outside. I thought of all the nights I'd waited by the door, phone in hand. All the times I'd cleaned his wounds, his messes, his lies. I'm not coming back, I said. But I heard you. I just said no. There was a long pause. Then, faintly, Marco said. He showed us the divorce papers. He didn't even read them. Just signed at the bottom like it meant nothing. I exhaled slowly. That stung more than I expected. Not because I still loved him, but because it proved what I'd always feared. To Corin, everything was temporary. Everyone was replaceable. Even me. Tell him I hope he gets better, I said. But tell him this too, when I come back it won't be for him. It'll be for me. And if he tries to stand in my way, I won't walk away this time. I'll walk right over him. I hung up, placed the phone face down on the table, and walked to the counter to buy the book. 2 weeks later, Betty sent me a photo. The house was being emptied. Furniture gone. Walls bare. A for sale sign planted in the front yard. And taped to the door, fluttering in the wind, was a single sheet of paper, a printed copy of the signed divorce papers. Scribbled at the bottom in shaky handwriting. I thought I could live without you. I was wrong. I stared at it for a long time. Then I saved the photo, renamed it Closure, and added it to a folder called Past. The next morning I stood on a sunlit pier, the ocean stretching endlessly in front of me. I took out the little cat charm from Corin's car, the one Christine had loved, and let it slip through my fingers, vanishing into the waves. Then I turned, walked to the car where Betty was waiting and smiled. Let's go home. Not his home.